Well, good evening, YouTube audience. For those of you that will be watching live or listening here on the podcast as I get ready to record. So I'm back. I'm feeling better, much better. Had a nasty little sick bug for about a week or two, so I feel much better. So I'm glad to be back. Let's get this thing rolling here. So we're going to discuss, Jackson Davis, a little bit about Northwestern, and then we'll talk about that 30 for 30 about Bob Knight. Very interesting. Obviously, I'm not very old or old enough to really remember what that was like that time. I was 10 years old when it happened, so wasn't really in tune. I was more worried about playing in the sandbox and whatnot. So, but nonetheless, let me get over here. Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the 5th edition of the Inside Out podcast. I'm your host, Josh Wilson, and the podcast is brought to you by Hoosiers United. You can follow Ben Malcolmson, my good friend Ben, and Coach Brian Tonsoni, and all the stuff that we do over there at Hoosiers-United.com. So I just wanted to meet with you guys tonight and get on here and chat some Indiana hoops. I'm feeling much better. Like I was letting the YouTube crowd know. Much better. I was under the weather there for about 2 weeks. Just didn't really feel 100% after getting over the initial hump. So I'm back and I feel much better. So I wanted to dive into a couple things. I think first, the biggest news of the day is Indiana lands a commitment from 5-star and easily the top target in the class of 2019, Trace Jackson Davis, 6'9" forward from Center Grove, who currently is playing against the other IU commit, Armand Franklin and Cathedral High School. They are squaring off over at Center Grove High School in Greenwood, Indiana, as we speak. So really exciting to get that news today. I was in my office at work and took a break and was scrolling through Twitter to see what was going on. And I saw a bunch of Trace, Jackson tweets and stuff that he had committed. And my heartbeat immediately increased. My heart rate just went sky high. And, that's so exciting. There was really no inkling that he was about to commit. I think from everything that we have seen, it was pretty well, talked about that he was going to wait and, see each of his 3 finalists play a little bit more. I got a little nervous, to be honest, when he was at the Champions Classic in Indianapolis to tip off when Michigan State was it play? Who they play? UCLA or Kansas? Yeah, they lost to Kansas in that game. But he was there as a guest for Michigan State, and the more Tom Izzo hangs around, it makes me a little nervous. So I was glad to see that news come about today. And surprisingly, he's actually already signed his national letter of intent. I saw that was posted earlier today. So Indiana, the coaching staff had to have known. And just what they put out that Fortnite video, I think the media school and the interns and the social media team with the basketball program has done phenomenal with being able to link all just today's age with kids, and I think it's really impressive how they've done that. So that Fortnite video was pretty cool, and I saw that he's actually signed his national letter of intent, which I thought was pretty wild. It's cool. He's inked. He's a Hoosier. I mean, there's no rebuttal on the commitment as of right now, and I think that's great. So you got two guys inked in, Armand Franklin and Trace Jackson Davis, and I think obviously TJD brings in a lot of good things. He's 16th or 17th, depending on which recruiting service you look at. So he's a top 20 kid. He's going to fill a need, fill a void right away for IU next year. Obviously, he's going to have to get stronger, get a little bit beefier, but we've seen what the guys that are freshmen this year have been able to do with Cliff Marshall over a summer. So I have no doubt that Trace Jackson Davis will be able to do the same. And I think it's, phenomenal. He's going to be a Hoosier. And I think, he's going to do great things at IU. And I know Jake Weingarten of Stock Risers is a recruiting analyst. He got an interview with Trace, and, he kind of asked him about who he's looking at. I think Keon Brooks is the easy answer. And I think both him and Armand are going to put the full court press on Keon. And I think there's a realistic chance that we get all three in Bloomington next season. So he also asked Trace about the whole one and done possibility. Trace just is that it was an answer. You don't really want to read into it too much. I mean, a lot of things change, but he basically said he was going to be in college until he feels ready that he can make an impact in the pros. And so selfishly as fans, we're going to want to see him for 2 or 3 years in Bloomington. But if he's ready after 1 year, you can't blame him. So obviously a long way to go until we get to that point. But I think it's nonetheless very exciting that he is going to don the cream and crimson. And now that we know, we can kind of take the deep breath because the recruiting class has taken a little bit time to come together. Obviously, we've had Franklin in the door for a little bit. Things were starting to get uneasy with TJD, and I think that's a little reassurance, and we can focus everything on Keon Brooks and see how that pans out. So once again, exciting news coming out today. So we'll switch over to Northwestern. So the Wildcats do come into Bloomington tomorrow for a nice little early afternoon tip off, 1:00, Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Yours truly will be there. So it should be a good game. I'm very eager to see how Indiana bounces back after obviously what we got to witness was just a complete annihilation by Duke, which you can pretty much come to expect for 99% of the people that walk into Cameron Indoor Stadium. So I didn't really expect a whole lot on that game. I was disappointed just with the effort. You can lose that game, but you can play with really good effort. And I think, you walk out of there with kind of a different feeling. The fans kind of, have a different feeling. So just some of the effort plays, just some of the things, hustle plays, you could just tell, the guys were not into it, which I just find that just strange to be able to go to that environment and have no get up, nothing, just no tenacity, just no desire to do anything. So I found that kind of underwhelming. So I'll be interested to see how they bounce back. Because Northwestern brings in a very experienced senior-laden group, a lot of upperclassmen. The Northwestern Wildcats, they are 6-1. No, yeah, they're 6-1 on the season right now. They have not played a true road game. So I'll be eager to see what Assembly Hall is like tomorrow. Should be a good turnout. So I'm eager to see that. Like I said, no true road game. Excuse me. No true road game for Northwestern so far. All games have been at home, or they played in a neutral court site. They had one of those preseason tournaments. So they bring back the names Vic Law, Derek Pardon. They did bring in the grad transfer Ryan Taylor from Evansville, the University of Evansville. So a lot of Southern Indiana folks will know that name. I haven't got to see them play this year, so I'm not sure what they look like in person. 6-1. The one game they did lose was Fresno State. That was the first game of neutral court site. They lost that game 78-59. Vic Law led them in scoring with 13 points. Derek Pardon had 7 rebounds. So I think if you want an easy, scouting reports on these guys, you're going to have to stop Vic Law and you're going to have to stop Ryan Taylor. So throughout the 7 games so far, either one, either Taylor or Law have scored or have led the team in scoring. Vic Law has a season high 26 in their win against American, and Ryan Taylor has his season high twice, actually 20 in the opening win against New Orleans, and in their most recent game against Georgia Tech, they won 67-61. So, I think Indiana's going to have a leg up just because Northwestern has not played a road game yet. And, Assembly Hall should be rocking. It should be a good crowd. Indiana always feeds off the energy in that building. So, but you have to pay attention. You have to stop Vic Law and Ryan Taylor. Vic Law is averaging just under 18 points a game, and Ryan Taylor is at 14 points a game. They do have 4 players in double figures. Obviously, Derek Pardon's the big guy in the middle. So I'll be eager to see how Archie lines up, if he stays with the starting 5 as of late, or if he brings in Deron Davis to start to kind of match up with the bigger body of Pardon. I don't think that he does, but I think that is something that you have to entertain, just how big and just how dominant Pardon is on the post and on the boards. So, but Archie may try to stretch him out and make him guard as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Archie lines up with those guys. and what kind of matchups he can, look to exploit right there in the beginning. So I do think IU is able to get the win tomorrow. It's going to be all depend on the defensive end. I don't think they're going to have issues, getting to the offensive, to the rim on offense, or be able to attack the paint. That's just been their area of specialty so far this season. I think that they have to continue to do that. But this team, they're going to win with their defense all year until they get this offensive, till they get each other figured out. Just because they've struggled so much offensively, and they get some guys back healthy. I think a big thing to do with it is, a lot of these guys are tired or fatigued. I mean, you're playing 5 or 6 guys only, and they're not getting a lot of rest. Finney played all 40 minutes a couple games ago. And I think that's something you have to avoid, especially with the freshman. Not that he'll get burnout, but you really don't want to take that chance where he's still trying to adjust. He's not played this, this type of competition for as many games. So, you gotta really be careful with these guys, and try to balance their minutes. So hopefully IU can get healthy. I did see a report that Zach McRoberts and Devontae Green should have no restrictions moving forward. So I think that's certainly a good sign for IU fans and just for the depth chart in itself. So, if you can get out, to Assembly Hall tomorrow, 1:00 tip off. It was originally a 5:00 tip off, but the Big Ten had to move up the game simply because Northwestern's football team plays in the Big Ten championship tomorrow night against Ohio State at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. So early matinee tip off should be a good one. Looking forward to a bounce back game on behalf of the Hoosiers. And they got to have this one. They got to get a leg up, got to get off to a 1-0 start in the league. Tonight, Michigan State beat Rutgers by it was 78-67, I believe it was. It was right around that mark. So obviously Michigan State's 1-0 in the league. Iowa and Wisconsin had just tipped off. So, you got to get this one at home because you go Tuesday, you travel to State College and play Penn State on the road, who's always pesky to the Hoosiers. And Penn State's no slouch this year. They've got really good players. So Indiana's going to have to be ready, but they need to take care of business against Northwestern first. So, and I look for them to do that tomorrow afternoon down there in Assembly Hall. So, excuse me. But last not least, I was able to watch the 30 for 30, the last days of night about Bobby Knight's obviously final days as the coach at Indiana University. I really watched it with quite a bit of intrigue because I was very young. I was only 9 or 10 when all this transpired. And obviously I didn't really know a whole lot. At that point, I was still forming my ideals and things like that. And, but it was strange just to see the way that he acted and the way that he was treated by both the fan base, the students, and then, people on the outside of the state of Indiana and the fan base. And, you almost wonder, he obviously had too much power, but, rest in peace to Jason Collier and Neil Reed. I wasn't under, I don't remember having any knowledge that Neil Reed had actually passed away. I'm glad his story was able to get told. It was a sad situation for everybody involved. But I think it was important that Neil Reed, he got his story told, and I think that's important because obviously he dealt with a lot. Once all that transpired. So, but yeah, Bobby Knight, he's a damn lunatic, and I think there's you can't argue that, and it's unfortunate he's that way, and he expected a lot of discipline and accountability from people around him and his players, and I don't even think he had those qualities himself, and it's very disappointing. It's very tragic just with where the IU basketball program was for the 29 years he was there. But to see it end like that, just the way it happened, how it happened, why it happened was just very, very tragic, and obviously it wasn't fair to the players that were directly affected by it. But I think Indiana has to move on. Bob Knight doesn't want anything to do with IU, and I think the current administration and the fan base, it's just time. It's time to move on. he had a good run, and obviously, he wasn't the best person. So, IU just has to move on. It's about the current. It's about the now. It's about the players and the coaches and the fans and the students that we have now and moving forward. And I think fans, you should keep that in mind as you make Facebook posts or social media posts, and recruits and recruiting. The parents of recruits see those types of things, so you just got to be careful with what you say. And like I said, it's unfortunate the way it happened and how it happened. But it's time. It's certainly time to move on. So I look forward to Indiana University doing that, and glad that that documentary is out, and everybody got to watch it, and hopefully we can all we saw it. Let's move on. And I mean, it's a good education tool for me. Like I said, I never really understood exactly what happened. I mean, I've always heard, but until you see it, if you didn't get to experience it, you have no clue. Just the exact magnitude that it came with. And I thought that was neat, just to kind of be able to experience all those feelings just watching that. So, but yeah, off that topic now. So, go Hoosiers! You got to beat Northwestern. Big day in recruiting news. Hoosiers land Trace Jackson Davis, 5-star, number 16 in the class of 2019. A big get for Archie Miller. Outside of Romeo Langford, I think you can say that was probably his number one goal. So I think that is huge get. So yeah, I'm back. Look for more, just more podcasts on a regular basis now that I'm feeling much better. And hopefully we can keep the content trending. Just make sure to follow myself. You can follow me on Twitter at _Josh Wilson 33. Make sure to check us out over at Hoosiers-United.com. Myself, Ben Malcolmson, Chris Corley, and the coach Brian Tonsoni, the Mr. Bracketologist, my favorite bracketologist. Hopefully I need to get him on the show, and we can talk brackets 101, and get the lowdown on this new net rating and see where IU stacks up and kind of what to expect. So, but that is it, folks. I appreciate you tuning in, whether it was on the YouTube live or here and listening to the pod on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere the 9 platforms I'm on. So I do appreciate it. And I thank you, and you all have a wonderful night, and I'll be back on with you soon. All right, YouTube, got the podcast audio stopped. So thanks, everybody. I saw there were a couple people on here. I appreciate you tuning in. Don't mind leaving any comments or anything like that in the comments section. I will always be on the lookout for those. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.